Hello everyone, my name is Gabby, and do you want to hear me talk about video games? Because now you can. So recently I got a Nintendo Switch, pretty much just so I could get Super Mario Odyssey. And I've been playing Super Mario Odyssey and I've put over 40 hours into it and I've gotten quite a lot into it, so I'm just gonna go around and talk about some things about Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey was one of those games that from the first announcement trailer and the first sort of gameplay footage that we saw of it, it's one of those things where it's like, it was something that I didn't even realize that I wanted so badly until I actually saw it. Like, you know, a sandbox kind of 3D open world Mario game where you just go around and do a whole bunch of platforming challenges basically whenever you want, without any sort of time limits or constraints on where you can go and what you can do. In all honesty, I think that sort of mindset was the reason as to why I honestly didn't always get into a lot of 2D Mario games. I think I didn't really like the fact that in these sort of like 2D Mario games and like, you know, 3D World and 3D Land, these kind of like linear gameplay experiences, like I think the problem that I always had with Mario games wasn't the fact that they were linear, but it was like that it was very much clearly a sort of like test or like a learning experience. Getting through a 2D platformer or a linear Mario game is very much a kind of experience of sort of like gameplay mastery. Like, you know, you have to learn how the platforming works and you get introduced to it first, and then, you know, as the story goes on and as the worlds go on, the platforming becomes more and more difficult and you basically just have to get good at it. And, you know, in all honesty, I don't think I really often play the games to try and get good at them, to try and like be the best. Like, I often play games basically just for the experience, just for the idea of playing a game. It's probably why I'm not necessarily as much into like fighting games and stuff like that, or first-person shooters, or a lot of kind of competitive games in general. I'm just like, I think I personally play games so I can get an experience out of them, and not necessarily so I can get some kind of like satisfaction out of learning a kind of skill set and then being able to use it to like do something really cool. By contrast, Super Mario Odyssey and Super Mario 64 and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as well are these games where I feel like, you know, the satisfaction comes from like your gameplay experience, your personal kind of subjective gameplay experience. And in all honesty, I think I kind of prefer that kind of mindset than like you have a game and you play the game and you beat the game because you get good. I think my experiences with Super Mario Odyssey can really kind of just be summed up by one idea, and that's the fact that I didn't even realize that I'd put over 40 hours of gameplay into it until I looked at the Switch and it said that I'd been playing for over 40 hours. There's a lot of different things to do in Super Mario Odyssey, but I never felt like at any point that progressing in the game actually felt like a chore, that it felt like a lot of effort and I wouldn't be able to do it. It felt like every time I open up the game, I'm just completely willing to go and do something new and try and get something else, and there's just kind of like nothing really stopping me. Like sometimes with other games, even like Breath of the Wild, there are points where it just kind of feels like it's just too difficult. There's just so much effort you need to put into to get into the game to do it. Like you have to be in the right mindset. You have to like know that you want to play this game and you're probably going to spend a few more hours into it and you really need to be enthusiastic about it. But with Mario Odyssey, I never felt that at all. I feel like I could just start playing it right now. I mean, heck, my Switch is actually within arm's reach, so, you know, I feel like I could just start playing Super Mario Odyssey right now and it would be just totally fine because it's just so easy to pick up. But those are my random thoughts about game design out of the way. Honestly, despite spending so much time with Super Mario Odyssey, a lot of the actual gameplay itself is stuff that I feel like I can't really talk that much about. Plus, there are probably like 5 gajillion YouTube videos just like trying to dissect the level design of Super Mario Odyssey. Like, I feel like I can't really add anything new to that. But there is one thing about Super Mario Odyssey that when I played it, when I went through it, it actually did legitimately make me think a lot about it, and that was surprisingly the story. Or at the very least, the ending. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about spoilers from this point onwards, so spoiler warning. So first of all, well, obviously, the final boss was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I got the fact that you have to capture Bowser at one point spoiled for me with a stupid random YouTube comment by somebody who I think was purposely trying to troll everyone by spoiling it all, and that kind of sucks. But the one thing that I didn't really get spoiled for me, which was really cool, was once you get to the final phase of the Bowser running away sequence, you basically get an insert song? Okay, I'm not gonna call it an insert song, it's probably got another name, it's just background music. So basically, Super Mario just went full on anime for that ending, and that's always really cool. But second of all, honestly, the interesting thing, the thing that I really wanted to talk about in the first place, was the actual ending to Super Mario Odyssey, where after Peach is saved, basically both Mario and Bowser pretty much go up to Peach with flowers and pretty much both sort of propose to her, and Peach actually kind of rejects both of them. I honestly think that what Super Mario Odyssey did with Princess Peach in the ending and also in the post-game is some of the most interesting stuff I think a main series Mario game has done with its story for a very, very long time. Maybe since like Super Mario Sunshine. Because it kind of subtly and not so subtly completely changes the sort of narrative of the series, of the entire Mario series that we were used to. The conception about the Mario series is basically just like, Bowser kidnaps Peach, Peach doesn't want to be with Bowser, Peach wants to be with Mario, and that's why Mario is rescuing her. But in this game, they kind of sort of imply that maybe Peach doesn't really want Mario. Or basically just like, maybe Peach doesn't want anyone, either Mario or Bowser. Maybe she just wants to go on an adventure, or rule the Mushroom Kingdom, or do something else. Maybe she doesn't want to actually settle down and get married, even though she totally could. When Mario and Bowser are basically just like both frantically shoving those flowers into Peach's face, and Peach is basically just looking from one to another, at that point suddenly Mario and Bowser kind of seem almost like equals. Like they're both equally bad options to Peach. I mean, obviously they're not really that equally bad. I mean, clearly, one of those guys was going around and kidnapping people and objects to use at their wedding, and the other one wasn't. And that's why Mario kind of ends up with Peach and Bowser gets stuck on the moon. But still, Mario is like the hero. Mario is the person you've been playing as, so you kind of assume that it's going to end up that way. In fact, you kind of assume that this entire meta narrative of the series has always just been like, well, Mario gets Peach and then everything is fine and it's the end of the story and Mario is always with Peach. Basically, in Super Mario Odyssey, they pretty much gave Princess Peach agency. And as the character who is quite possibly the most well-known definition of the damsel in distress, giving the damsel in distress some agency is honestly a really, really interesting move. I mean, yeah, sure, Peach has done stuff in the spin-off games and in the games where she's a playable character. I think one of the most obvious and most interesting examples, I think within Super Paper Mario, where Peach gets forced into a dating simulator by a chameleon otaku, and then you start choosing all the options as to how the date is going to go, until suddenly Peach breaks the fourth wall and blows the entire thing up. Yeah, if you've never played the Mario RPGs, they can get kind of interesting sometimes. But this is a main series Mario game. This is something where it kind of feels like we're sort of expected to know this story, or this story is going to kind of maybe matter if there's some kind of continuity to the Super Mario series. And in all honesty, this kind of theme of giving Peach agency actually continues into the post-game. Because once you beat the game and you go to the Mushroom Kingdom, which by the way is the coolest nostalgic throwback area ever, oh my god, when you finally go into Peach's castle, the Toads are like, oh, Peach has gone missing, oh, what could possibly be going on? And of course, the common assumption is that like, oh, Peach has gotten kidnapped again. She's gotten kidnapped by Bowser again, or by somebody else, and so like in the post game we're gonna go and have to rescue her. But when you actually look around, it turns out that's not the case. Peach is missing, but she isn't kidnapped. She left of her own accord to go around and start exploring all those different areas which she kind of saw but didn't get to properly see because she was kidnapped by Bowser at the time. And in fact, once you go around and see Peach in every area of the game, she goes back to the Mushroom Kingdom. She goes back home of her own accord, not because you rescued her from anything. And I know there are probably going to be people on both sides of the political spectrum who kind of be like, Gabby, you shouldn't be so excited about this because this doesn't really change anything. And the truth of the matter is, well, yeah, no, it doesn't. Like, just because this game did some fun stuff with Peach doesn't mean that, like, this is the moment where Nintendo is going to decide that Peach is no longer a damsel in distress, or in fact there are not going to be anybody getting kidnapped in Mario games ever again, or whatever. Like, I don't think that's actually going to happen. But I do appreciate that at the very least, Nintendo realized that they've been sticking to a formula for so long, they didn't even really seem to consider that you could actually not really play it completely straight. You could do something kind of interesting with a Mario story, even if it's only kind of like in one cutscene and some other implications in the post-game. I think it's really got to do with my own expectations as to why I thought these moments were just so worth talking about. Because obviously when I play a main series Mario platformer, I'm not playing it for either like some kind of groundbreaking story or some kind of story that plays fun with its own conventions. I'm expecting something that is extremely conventional. So when I played a game like this, where it's extremely conventional for like 90% of the game, and for the last 10% they kind of throw some very minor curves into it, it does catch me by surprise, and it does make it extremely memorable. I love conventions and basically everything. I mean, there's a reason as to why I have a series where I basically just go around and talk about tropes in shonen manga. But when a story is designed to be conventional, and then it suddenly kind of puts a twist on the conventions in a moment where you're really not expecting it, I do find it extremely memorable. You know, I think that's actually just one of my things, one of those things that I just really like seeing, along with like, you know, meta humor and really cool insert song moments and characters where they have a whole arc about trying to get self-confidence. I think the whole idea of a conventional series suddenly breaking from conventions but basically only for that one moment, I think that's one of those other things where it's like, if it happens, I love it. It's just really cool. It just like hits all of the right spots for me that it's really memorable for me. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go around and try and memorize the lyrics to the Escape theme so I can go around and start singing it on a moment's notice. It'll be my party trick or something. I don't know. But this is Gabby signing out, and goodbye, guys.